Do you know what one of the most important ingredients is for conducting high-quality civic monitoring research? Certainly, it's the correct use of information sources. Let's explore together why it's so crucial to be able to recognize and use reliable and accurate sources. I read it on the internet. How many times have you heard this phrase? On the web, it's now possible to find all kinds of information. In fact, we are often bombarded by what experts call information overload. So how do we distinguish the right information and verify its reliability? Just because you read something online doesn't mean it's true, even if it's shared on the social media profiles of your contacts. Within a seemingly authoritative text, there might be one of the many fake news stories circulating on social media. On the web and in everyday life, verifying the validity of information is increasingly important, even more so if you're trying to understand how public funds are being spent in your local area, which is exactly the goal of your civic monitoring research. That's why it's important to train your critical thinking in searching for information, selecting and evaluating sources based on some key characteristics. Relevance. The source must be relevant to the topic at hand. Authority. You need to check the expertise of the institution or author and the credibility of the publication. Timeliness. In some cases, it's better to prefer updated sources, and in all cases, you should always cite the dates of the sources you use. Reliability. The presence of specific references, the quality of the arguments, and the evidence presented are important elements to verify. In short, to carry out accurate and credible research, it's essential to be able to use a variety of high-quality sources and analyze them in an informed way. Sources can be classified into primary sources and secondary sources. Each of them has specific characteristics. Let's take a closer look at them. A primary source refers to an original document or a first-hand source of information on a specific subject. These are materials that provide direct evidence and strengthen your investigations. Think, for example, of interviews and testimonies collected from those who have benefited from a service or from those who experienced a particular event firsthand, or even population censuses which allow us to obtain always up-to-date demographic and socio-economic data, or also recordings and measurements of phenomena and events. Secondary sources, on the other hand, help to understand the meaning of information obtained from primary sources within a broader context. In practice, these are data and information already collected by other people, bodies, institutions, organizations which become public documents, administrative acts, official statistics, research reports, newspapers, archives, reviews, and even geographical maps. As you can imagine, to use secondary sources effectively, it is always necessary to evaluate their quality and relevance. These precautions are especially important when collecting administrative data, which can also be used as a basis for statistical analysis. A bit like what you are about to do with your team in the ASOC Civic Monitoring Research. To ensure credibility and transparency, but above all, to allow anyone to verify the validity of the information, it is of fundamental importance to correctly cite the sources you've used. Like when, for example, in a text, you report the words of an author or include charts from the ISTAT database. How can you do this in the best way? There are various citation styles depending on the type of work you're doing, but generally, it's always useful to include the source's origin, such as the name of the organization, for example ISTAT, or the author of the research, the subject, for example tourism growth rate in the islands, the date, for example, percentage of waste sorting achieved in the city of Turin from June to September 2024. In the case of materials available online, always remember to include the reference link. One last tip. Make balanced use of direct quotations, which put the author's exact words in quotation marks, and paraphrases where the original content is reworded in your own words. We've seen how to verify information effectively, select different types of sources, and cite them properly. All that's left is for you to put our advice into practice to research, gather, and report the most reliable and accurate sources.